person. So I appreciate your time and everything today.
Well, glad to be here.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
So you fell on the sword and took the task of being the interim city council person after it seemed like nobody wanted it, and you got took it during a very difficult time, and the biggest thing was you agreed not to run again. So you were kind of like a self-imposed like lame duck kind of a thing, but you still worked real hard to get things done. And tell me how that worked out for you.
It was good. I wanted to first of all make sure that the District 2, particularly for the 5 months that were left, had some sort of continuity and leadership. And so certainly I wasn't there previously, but I think my experience previously in District 8 kind of gave me the experience to keep things moving for those 5 months. And I thought it was hopefully I accomplished a lot of good things for the district, and hopefully I kept things moving. And I think the biggest thing that Councilwoman Villagran, who sat to my right, said to me is, Art, in my 5 years here on City Council, I've seen 5 different people coming through in that seat, 5 different people who sat in that seat. And that's huge. That's huge for any district. It's huge for continuity. It's huge for credibility amongst your colleagues and so forth.
Yes.
But you take one person who's been in her seat for 5 years,
right?
Built up credibility, moved things, set up an agenda, pushed for her district.
Becomes a senior member.
Exactly. And you compare that to a district where there's just constant churn. There's a difference there. And so I might have been the 5th person and only serving for 5 months, but hopefully my experience from 4 years prior helped maintain that continuity and got things done.
Well, it appeared to me, just from an outsider looking in, it appeared to me that you did a good job of getting resources allocated during that period than the person who was there prior. I'll put it that way. No, I'm not trying to make any disparaging remarks about anybody, but I think your experience did pay off, because it appeared to be that some things that were being stagnated seemed to start moving forward, and I appreciate that. So, because the people in the district need leadership, but I don't know. It just seems like I don't know. It just seems like every election there's a different fraction, and that fraction goes out to vote and nobody else votes.
Yeah,
and we got to overcome that. How do we overcome that?
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, you look at this election, and Councilwoman Jada Andrews Sullivan won, but it was basically a 50-50 vote.
It was a 50-50 vote,
right? And city of San Antonio as a whole, when we look at the mayor's race, it was kind of the same thing, kind of 50-50. There are other districts where the margins were a lot bigger, 70-30 in one of the districts, and maybe 60-40. But to have a 50-50 and have that sort of split every single time shows that there is division within not only the district but also the city as a whole. And how do you overcome that? Part of it is incumbent on the sitting city council members, so the new council member coming in, to set aside divisions and people that went against her in this particular instance, and reach across to the other side to make sure that she makes that bridge.
Well, hopefully she does that.
Yes, and I think she will.
Yeah, hopefully she learned and she'll do that. Now, I think one of the things we had the mayor on a few weeks ago, right before the end of early voting, and he talked about some of the things that were on his agenda, specifically about making sure that the district that was least represented in the past were actually getting additional resources. They were trying to make up in the past by over allocating.
Right.
Did that actually happen?
Oh yeah. They call it the equity budget,
yes,
the equity perspective,
yes.
and which I think is a great idea. When I represented District 8, the common theme there was, Districts 8, 9, and 10 gave the most money via taxes, and so therefore they were deserving of much more of the resources.
Right.
And that's a strong argument as well, and it's difficult to challenge. But this particular council, led by the mayor, pushed the equity concept. And when I looked at the budget, particularly all the streets and drainage and sidewalk dollars, those were split unevenly based on poverty,
need.
On need, exactly. When you look at the bond allocation, same sort of thing. And so so the evidence was there numerically through the numbers and spending as to how that was allocated, which I think was very good. Now I will tell you that I expected District 2 to be lower on the list or more in need than some of the other districts, but it's actually right in the middle.
Okay.
And so District 5 is actually our poorest district.
Well, District 5 is a bleak area as far as infrastructure goes. They don't have sidewalks for people to walk on.
Right. So it typically it was number one on the list.
Okay.
So it got the biggest allocation of both budget dollars as well as bond dollars. And then it kind of went all the way down. So south and west sides were the other districts. Mm-hmm. District 5 or District 2 was right in the middle. So we were number 5.
Okay. Good.
And then it went from there.
Okay.
But so yeah, there's evidence of it, and I think we'll continue with the new council.
Well, the good thing, the reason I asked you that question is because after the mayor was on, we got a lot of comments, on the Facebook thing that a lot of people didn't believe that was happening. So they actually they screamed that wasn't happening, and the mayor was making stuff up, and so I just wanted some affirmation or so that's
I got the numbers, and I looked at all the numbers, and I ranked them, and I saw where the allocations were. And it's real.
So one of my biggest thing that I see, here in the city, I think a couple of things. And the first, when we talk about the elections, in Texas as a whole, as a state, is the least voting state in the union.
Wow.
And then San Antonio is one of the lower voting. I mean, for the mayoral election, we had like a 9% turnout.
Wow.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible. And I don't understand the apathy.
Yeah, I don't either. And part of it is people have to believe it makes a difference.
Yes.
And they have to believe that their vote matters and that they're invested. And part of the reason that there may be apathy is because we've not convinced voters of that. And so we got to do a much better job of making that reality a reality for people across the board. But I look at times when we have had a higher voter turnout.
Uh-huh.
Barack Obama's election was
huge.
It was huge, and so particularly African American votes shot way up all across the board. When we look at the city of San Antonio, same kind of thing. But then the next election after that, or after he served his 2 terms, shot way down.
Yeah.
So how do you keep that high level? That's tough, but we got to figure out a way to make sure that that voting matters and is evidently matter so that people can see it to individual voters.
Yeah, because right now the only thing if people that have money win. That's the way it goes.
Right. Yeah.
And it's because they basically can go out and they can buy constituents that'll make sure that they go and that they vote and whatever. So,
right.
So that's a big problem that I see. And the other one, real quick before we take a break, I want to just ask you about. With all the stuff going on the east side, one of the things that I've always had as a problem, it seemed like since Dr. Walker passed away many years ago, that we don't see the African American representation in the workforce for public projects on the east side.
Okay.
And so I wonder, is that just a perception that I have, or is that a fact?
It's I'd say it's probably a fact. When I looked at minority contracting, and that's been a big push for years since I was on council before, and I know efforts have been made, but the general feedback that we get back from city staff is they're not seeing the numbers of folks applying, number one, but then doing quality work after that. The numbers that we have seen where we've met our numbers, our target numbers, has been in the engineering area.
Right.
And so I think of some of the key folks that I know, Paul Foster's of the world and Travis Wiltshire's of the world.
Yeah.
And so they do a lot of work. They do great quality work. And so, and those numbers have increased. I'm sure there's others
and they've been doing it for a long time. And both of them actually are mentoring other minority engineering people with interest in mind, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, but trying to get outside of that engineering perspective and get to other areas, that's where we're lacking.
Right. So I mean, there's got to be something we can do. I mean, even if I know we've got the skilled trades people. I know they're always looking for plumbers. It would be great just to see a person standing out there holding a sign.
Right.
Because I mean, at least those folks. I mean, they're making $15 an hour just holding the sign.
Right.
But you never see a minority person even holding. You don't even see a woman holding the sign.
Right.
And I mean, those kind of things. to me, they've got this economic development survey that's supposed to be going on, and they got to have a response by midnight on Monday. So I'm trying to encourage a lot of people to participate in that. But those are the kind of issues that lead people to think that nothing's being done, that they don't matter, and that their vote doesn't count.
Right. Well, we got to push the pipeline.
Right.
Which is key. So part of the half the battle is opening the door.
Right.
And so we got to make sure that not just the public places, but the big county and city and school districts and so forth open that door, but also the private sector opens those doors as well. But then the other half of that is that once we're in the door, we got to perform.
We got to perform.
And we got to perform well. One of the big things with Barack Obama being elected, one of the fears that we all had was, we don't want him to mess up.
Right.
Because and he didn't, which was great.
Right.
Because if he did mess up, then it kind of messes it up for everybody down the road. And so the same thing happens on the business side, is that once we're in those positions, once we get those jobs, let's do it well, overperform, so that you keep the door open for the next person.
Right.
But there's two sides of that. Then the other piece of that is I work for the Alamo colleges, to make sure that we develop the skill level with our workers, so that when they take those jobs, that they're ready to take on the jobs.
I quite frankly, I think you guys do an excellent job. It's just the problem I see, and we'll take a break right after. The problem I see is not what you do. It's the input into the system in a lot of cases. I mean, so the people that come to animal colleges looking for an education, looking for a skill, who have already met their requirements, so to speak, their minimum requirements, they come out well prepared, but what ends up happening is you have a lot of people that come into animal colleges and they're not prepared. They don't have the skill set. They didn't, for whatever reason, they didn't get it from high school or wherever, and so you end up like trying to put together remedial things to help get them where they need to be, and that's really not your job,
It's not, but community colleges are the bridge, and so we got to figure out, we got to take a group of folks with varied backgrounds and varied experiences and varied levels of I guess preparation, and make sure that we get them prepared for the workforce. And so if we don't necessarily offer those opportunities directly within our curriculum, we got to be able to make it happen. And so typically we do that through grants. A lot of what my area does is help fill that gap, so that we deal with the adult basic ed and critical need arenas, so that we get them qualified to be able to be a college student.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, we have interim District 2 City Councilman Art Hall with us today. Dr. Doug here with you. We'll be right back. Excuse me.
And I leave this on, right? I leave the computer on.
Okay. Oh, very good.
Yeah.
So, we want to talk about next about the future of the district. Some of the things that are going on, and just the old versus the new conflict. So see what you think about that.
And just to mention some of the critical things. When I first came in, we selected Eric Walsh as city manager.
He's going to do a good job.
Yeah, he'll do a good job. Chick-fil-A was kind of a big issue as well. And then
do you think the right decision was made with Chick-fil-A? Did you agree with that decision?
No, I did not. Yeah. And then the other big issue was the Hay Street Bridge, which we finally got resolved on my last day.
What are they going to do with that? What do they do?
So we're going to make it a park. So we're going to get the property back. We did a land swap.
Okay.
And then we're going to go ahead and dedicate it as a park. And so we limit that.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's talk about those.
Okay. Now, where are you guys living now?
We live, we severely downsized.
Okay.
And we live off of West Avenue on a street called Storywood, it goes between West Avenue and Vance Jackson.
Okay.
So it's in District 1. And so we got a little house there. It's like 2,000 square foot. It's all on one floor.
Yeah.
Like you do these stairs.
Right.
It's like perfect. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Very, very happy. It's a quiet neighborhood, well kept, well manicured, so it's real nice.
And so now Jeremy just graduated from college.
Yep.
And so where's he go now? Is he working or is he going to go grad school?
Right now, he's going to work because he said, Dad, I've been going to school. I've been going to private schools and school. I'm like, I want to get a job. So he's going for an interview out in California at the Stevenson Institute.
Okay.
To be a leadership instructor. They bring kids in from all around the world, and they have leadership seminars. And so he's participated in that several times. So he has kind of like a foot in the door kind of a thing. They have to put his application in, so he did all of that. So he's going to be out there for a month, kind of like as an internship, kind of seeing as a paid internship. Yeah. Seeing if he likes it, if they like him, and if that works out, then he'll be going there. The other thing he applied for the Albany School District, because that's where he went to school up in Schenectady. While he was there, he was a lead facilitator for My Brother's Keeper. So he put a job. That's actually huge in the state of New York. My Brother's Keeper is. They have 9 different chapters in 9 different cities, and it's a big. The governor sponsors it. It's a big deal. But he got his group. They got an award by the state legislature for the most highest performing My Brother's Keepers and stuff. Yeah, they took kids on college trips and to games and all kinds of stuff, and they developed their own leadership curriculum. They did peer-to-peer mentoring kind of stuff. So they're really active. So they had programs 5 days a week. So
okay, that's good.
So, yeah. Okay, we'll come back.
Okay.
Frankie Beverly, Traveling Man, Dr. Doug here with you. We're here with Art Hall. And hey, Art, welcome back.
Thank you.
So hey, let's talk about a couple of things that happened while you were on the council. Give me some of the highlights.
Well, my first day on the job, we were interviewing city manager candidates, and so then that's critical to have that experience.
Absolutely.
Had a relationship with most of the people that applied for that position, and so knew them, knew their work, and so being able to contribute to that discussion on day one was absolutely critical. So in the end, we selected Eric Walsh as the city manager, and I think he'll do a great job.
I think so. I really like Cheryl. I thought Cheryl took the city a long way. She should be. They should have a statue for Cheryl somewhere. But Eric will do a great job.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I really loved about Cheryl was, and I was part of the selection committee.
I remember
that brought her on.
Yep.
Was that. I say that she really professionalized the city management in San Antonio, and she brought that really national credibility to the city of San Antonio. And so what you found was a lot of people applying to the city of San Antonio for positions because they wanted to be under her leadership, instruction and leadership of Cheryl Scully. So it was a tremendous boon to be able to have her on board. And I think and I told Eric this. I think his biggest challenge will be to make sure that he not only is part of her legacy, but then he
enhances it.
Well, enhances it, but creates his own.
Yes.
Because he wants to still he ought to be aspired to be one of those leaders nationally that other people are attracted to. And I think he'll slowly pave his way to be able to do that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So because he picked it up. She left the city in good shape, and so he it's not like he's got to go and do crisis management right away. So I hope he does well. I wish him well.
So then what I also try to do is just try to take on as many of the controversial items that were existing at the time and try to.
There's a lot of those.
There's a lot of those, particularly in District 2. And my first probably 4 weeks were just controversy after controversy.
I remember that.
And but the idea was to be able to solve a lot of those problems as quickly as we could so that whoever the next council would be, they would have a clean slate.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Mankey Park was another big issue. Neighborhood Conservation District. It had been around for years. It's probably a 4 or 5 year old issue.
Yeah, at least.
Right. And really had 4 different what I call factions. So you had the neighborhood association, which had a faction within it. Then we created a committee. They had their own perspective of that whole issue, and then city staff had their own perspective of it. And everybody had a different.
They were dug in.
Right. They had a very different perspective. And so my job was to come in and figure that out and come to resolution. And what I typically would do is I'll push the entities that are there to come up with their own resolution. And I pushed the sides a little bit, and we finally came up with one set of criteria that everybody could agree on. It wasn't perfect, but at the same time, it was something that everybody could work with.
Well, you know what, though? They're not fighting anymore.
That's right, yeah.
And so that alone is a good thing.
Right.
So sometimes, whatever the solution is, it's a solution, and everybody's like on the same. At least everybody knows what solution is, and so we can move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. The other big issue was, of course, Hay Street Bridge, and that had been an issue since 2002. They had another reiteration in 2012, and so that was kind of a hot potato that people were passing back and forth. We had, of course, legal issues. And
Nobody wanted to deal with it, right?
Nobody wanted to deal with it. The Supreme Court decision came back during my tenure there, and so we utilized that as an opportunity to, not go back and appeal the case anymore, resolve the issue, and so really, we pulled together what I call 6 sides of the issue. So we had Dignity Park,
right,
or neighborhood association. We had Denver Heights neighborhood association.
Denver Heights.
We had the property owner himself, City of San Antonio, and I had to convince the other council members to approve something. We had the community as a whole, and of course the restoration group, the Hay Street Restoration Group. So 6 different perspectives, 6 different positions I had to work through. Lots of different agendas and items and issues that and concerns. So we finally figured it out. It took us to my very last day to be able to come up with a resolution. But in the end, I think we made the right decision. We came up with a resolution that I think will work for everybody. Again, it's not perfect, but I think everybody got a little bit of something.
Okay.
So
they're happy.
I think so. So in the end, what we did was we did a land swap.
Okay.
We had a piece of property that the city owned. We switched out for the property that the property owner owned.
Okay.
Which was right next to the bridge.
Bridge, right.
And then we resolved the whole issue that had started this whole thing back in 2002. And we dedicated the land specifically for a park.
So it's not going to be commercial anymore.
It won't be commercial anymore.
Good.
And so going forward, the discussion now going forward is, all right, what does that park look like? What's the design? So I think we pulled out all the controversial issues and settled on something that works for everybody.
Well, hopefully we can keep it maintained, and hopefully it can be representative of all the effort and everything that you put into it.
Yeah, and I think it will be. There's lots of eyes on this from the mayor's office to the Hay Street Restoration Group, from the neighborhood to others. And so I think we'll dedicate the correct amount of resources to make sure it's a good-looking area for the district and the city of San Antonio.
Awesome. So now let me just real quick here. I know we got running short on time. So the east side, a lot of exciting things are happening on the east side. There's all kinds of new construction. The Saha is doing some great things, and so there are all different types of organizations and developers are buying some of the older homes and rehabbing them and trying to keep their historic designation and things. And then you have the existing people who are the backbone of the east side, and they feel like they're getting pushed out. What do you have to say about that? Yeah,
so gentrification, that's a big issue for our district, and so there's lots of ways to help resolve it. But I first look at the issue in and of itself. Typically, and I'm an investor in lots of different things, and so typically in an investment, you want to see that the value of that investment go up.
Absolutely.
And so typically when you're looking at housing, an investment goes up only if the area around it improves, the streets improve, the schools improve. It's an area of interest, that kind of thing. The only way to either keep it level or have that property value go down is you don't pay attention to the area. Right. The streets are bad. Crime is rampant. Nobody wants to be there. School districts go down and so forth.
Kind of like it was several years ago.
Exactly. So I think the bigger issue for the concept of gentrification just generally is how do you keep all the great things that are happening on the east side, maintain those and keep them happening, but then keep the value of properties down, and that I think is the challenge. And economics don't necessarily work that way. So then what that takes is some kind of external imposition by a governing body to be able to do something.
So what they did in Brooklyn and Harlem? They basically, the indigenous people were put on. It's like, if they rented, it was some kind of like rent control type of thing.
Yeah.
And the homeowners they were, and I don't know if it's a Homestead Act or what, but their taxes were like capped.
Right.
And so, but if you were a new developer, and if you ever sold that property, then it was like, it's catch as catch can.
Yeah.
But if somebody came in and did any type of new development or whatever, then they paid the prevailing rates. So, and what that seemed to do, it seemed to work because, Harlem looks a lot better now than it did 10 years ago.
Right.
And Brooklyn has gone from a place nobody wants to live that everybody wants to live.
Right.
And I think that model can work for the East Side because it's a we got 150,000 people, District 2. I mean, so it's a large area.
Right.
I mean, I think there's enough room for everybody.
And we're doing some of that. So we already have a senior tax cap exemption, senior exemption that's been in place for years.
Okay.
And so what that does is, as long as you're 65 years and older, your property tax, and I'm not sure if it's the rate or the appraised value or the tax amount, stays the same for.
I think it's the rate.
Okay. So however long you live.
You live there, yeah.
Right. And so whenever that property passes from a senior to somebody else, then the market value helps in there. Yes.
Okay.
I know that there is legislation being proposed, and I'm not sure if it passed or not, at the state legislature, which would do the same sort of thing for those who've been in their homes X number of years.
Okay.
And so kind of the same concept that if you've been in your home and whatever the number of years, 20 plus years, that your property rate would be capped. And then if you ever leave that location, then the market value goes into place. So a little bit of that's happening. The other big thing I think that has been happening, I think works for the city of San Antonio, and particularly on the east side, is the affordable housing, I guess, resolution that city city council has been really interested in. And so we've been pushing affordable housing across the city. District 2 has been part of that. The council before me kind of adjusted how that looks, but the concept is we own some properties or we incent some properties to build affordable housing for certain AMI income levels.
Okay.
So that those building opportunities and development opportunities are reserved for affordable housing at a certain level, and so that's happening throughout the east side, throughout the city of San Antonio on lots of different levels, and which I think is a good thing. So,
I think that's a good thing too. As long as you get the quality builders, as long as they're not cutting costs on the quality and the whatever the codes and all those things are.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, we want people to live in good quality homes, even though they are affordable.
Yeah, because they tried doing that in Florida, and they were using some kind of Chinese. I probably shouldn't say that, but the Chinese drywall thing that kept deteriorating and all kinds of other kind of things, and so they had all kinds of problems with that, and they had to condemn a lot of properties. But anyway, so yeah, well, you guys are doing a great job, Art, and so real quick here before we go, what's the future hold for you? What are you going to be doing?
So for me, I'm just going back to regular life. I work for the Alamo colleges, and so they allowed me to do this, but I still had to maintain my 40 hours a week there, and so I did all the council stuff plus my 40 hours a week.
Oh my God! And
then I couldn't accept pay for the city council work, and so it was a lot of just additional volunteer time that I had to invest, and so now I can go back to just a regular schedule, which would be good. But I'd like to stay involved in how that looks in the future.
Well, you're going to be missed because you are a jewel for the city. Your tremendous skill sets and your ability to get along with people and to navigate difficult issues and come to resolution and get people who have been mortal enemies for quite some time to get them to get in the room together and actually come to resolutions. Not many people have that skill. So
I appreciate that.
Your negotiating skills and your demeanor and everything, and your will to get things done and come to resolution, and that's just you can't replace that.
I appreciate it. You can't
replace that. Too many people win it for self-serving reasons. So that's one of the reasons I want to have you on, because just so that you're once again you're another treasure of San Antonio. All of your thank you for all of your hard work and your service and everything. So hopefully you don't get back to too normal of a life, because I'm sure we'll be needing Art home in the future. Well,
thank you, Doug, and I appreciate all your support over the years. You and your wife and family have been a model for ours, and I wanted to make sure that I came by and spent some time and wish Jeremy all the best in his future career, and congratulations to you and Carolyn for all your work and his success.
Oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So how's London doing?
London's doing great. She's 13 now, about to be 14 going into
right,
high school. Yeah, she wants to be a vet, so we're doing a lot of ag stuff, raising a calf.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. She's a great
so
girl.
is she working for a vet now anywhere?
She does a lot of volunteer kind of hours.
Good. Yeah.
Awesome. And so she's got to get to 300 hours, I think, by the end of her 4 years.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, best of luck to her, and she'd be a great vet. That's especially in a place like San Antonio. We need more vets.
Right, absolutely. Thank you very much, Doug. I appreciate it.
All right, tell everyone I said hello. Thanks, for coming on. Dr. Doug here with the KRVFM, the Heart and Soul of San Antonio. We'll be back.
Good.
Awesome.
All right.
Turn it around for me. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all. Here's Joe.